guys doing today?
Good.
How's the conference going?
Great.
The only thing you guys are thinking about right now is food. So we're going to make this quick, and I'm going to leave all the food analogies out of my speech. All right, so we got about a half hour, which I think we were going to have about 50 minutes or so originally, but we can knock something productive out in 30 minutes. And the two things that I want to cover, first of all, my name is Wally Ybarra. I go by Wally because growing up, my family called me Wale, and the bullies call me Lupita. And so before time, before too much time passed, I kind of migrated to Wally. Not like Wally's a big upgrade, right? Like, I am Wally, right? And so nothing special about that. So being that I'm going to talk about leadership and education, speaking of leadership, the first thing I want to do is kind of random, is I want to have somebody come up and join me just for a second. Can you come over here? Okay, so go ahead and introduce yourself. We've never met. We've known each other for... I'm Zayla. We've known each other for about 2 seconds. So, Zayla, say something.
Hi, I'm Zayla.
That's your class back there?
Yeah.
Right here.
Is she cool?
Yeah.
What's two things that make her cool?
She braided up my hair this morning on the bus.
Oh, I got next.
Yeah. She has style.
She has style. You do.
Yeah.
Look, we're kind of like the same. We got our hands kind of. I'm trying a new thing. I know what you're thinking, like, why is this dude wearing Nikes with a suit jacket, right? I'm weird like that. All right, so Zayla, go ahead and have a seat. Let's hear it for Zayla. Okay, so leadership is one of those things that I know it's kind of like the word love, right? Leadership has 1,000 different definitions. Every single one of us, we don't have time, but if I went around the room and asked you to define leadership, I'm sure that everybody in here we'd say probably around the same thing, but we could say something different, right? So, which means none of us know what the heck it means, pretty much, right? But we all know what it is. The reason why I had Zayla come up here is because I was standing here, and I don't know what it was about me that was sending this vibe of nerves, but she looked I made eye contact with her, and she had this big, cool smile on her face, and she's like, "Are you nervous?" I was like, "No." But I said, "Are you?" She's like, "No, I'm ready." And I said, "Do you want to come up here and speak?" She said, "Yeah." And I was like, "What are you going to say?" And she's like, "Something," right? And so for me, when I think about the concept of leadership, isn't it that right there? Isn't it that? Where it's just this thing where you're so comfortable with yourself and who you are. It's not cockiness. It's not anything like that. It's just had I looked at her and she would have just been like this, like. I can't say that's not leadership, but there's something about that ability to just be that way. Hi, yeah. You want me to come speak? Yeah. Just like we would say, being down for whatever. Kind of thing, right? Like, I love that because that's what leadership is. And again, we won't spend too much time trying to define it because I think a lot of us kind of know what it is. But I do want to make something clear about the concept of leadership, okay? Because I spent the early part of my years on the streets, okay? I don't need to go into too much details, but let's just say I would not have been at the Cesar Chavez conference as a high school student. Okay, I would have been the guy that would have been probably criticizing people for being the dorks. It was one of those guys that at my young age, I was deceived into thinking that leadership was something else, that this isn't what leadership is. Okay? One of the quotes that I want to toss out there that's kind of foundational for me when it comes to leadership is the quote that says, "The purpose of a great leader is not to get 1,000 people to think that they're something." Right? A real leader is the one who can get 1,000 people to think highly of themselves. Does that make sense? Purpose of the leader is not to get people to think highly of them. Because there's a lot of people out there that operate that way. I remember being on the streets, that's the way it is. A lot of kids that didn't come to this conference, they're doing that out there. Right? They're chasing the oohs and the ahs. They will spend, or get their parents for the most part, to spend hundreds of dollars to get those $300 pairs of Jordans, those $200 pairs of pants, that $85 shirt that's got a polo logo on it, and whatever else they're gonna put on, so that when they get to school that morning and walk through the halls, people like us will be like, "Damn, bro." Dang, son, right? Girls will do that too, right? Guys get ready in the morning different than girls do, right? For us, we get up, we start getting the mocos out of our eyes, we're like, all right, I'm gonna go to school. We'll be back in a little bit, right? We may or may not take a shower, right? But we find our way to school, right? We just kind of stumble in. Girls, you probably wake up, you get your bed made in the morning, right? And then you try on a pair of pants and a shirt, and then you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, hell no. That ain't gonna work, right? You throw it down, you grab another shirt, right? You do this on your hair, and then 45 minutes to 2.5 hours passes by, right? And until you finally get to that moment where you look in the mirror and you're like, dang. Right? And we do that, right? I mean, we're just being silly, but we do that stuff, right? I mean, I don't do the girl thing, right? Sometimes. But, we don't do that. But when we get to schools, there's a part of us that kind of does that, right? Like we get there and we want that. Girls don't want to spend, guys, advice, okay? As leaders. If a girl is spending 2.5 hours to put on like that outfit and she gets to school, don't do this. Do this. Oh, girl. Oh, baby. It was worth it. You look great today. Right? Do that. Be sincere about it, right? Because a girl doesn't want to walk away feeling that 2.5 hours was for nothing. Okay? The leadership. We'll do that. We think that leadership is when you get a bunch of people to think that you're something. That you're this person that people need to be admiring. And we go to great lengths. Sometimes we will do stupid, sometimes negative things to get people to react that way. Look at me, I'm something. When leadership in reality is the complete opposite. It's when you walk through the halls, especially in high school, when you walk through the halls and you spend the majority of your time obviously doing homework and taking care of responsibilities, but you're just on this massive pursuit to get other people to feel special about themselves. You're not in the business of drawing attention to you. You got your back. But you just got this investment where people around you must feel great. You guys feeling me on that? It's very, very backwards. And I think it's important to talk about because when I see the movement that's happening with young people, it feels like that's the movement that's getting less and less popular. That movement of like, man, today I need to serve somebody. I see it. I've walked through schools all around the country. And it doesn't matter if you're in a school in New York or a school in Salem, Oregon, or here in Monmouth. It doesn't matter. There's not one school that you can walk into where you can't walk through the halls or walk into the cafeteria, and you won't at least see a handful of people just kind of sitting by themselves because nobody else wants to talk to them. You see that at your school? Yeah. Guess whose responsibility it is to be that person? Say it.
Hard.
Yeah, yours. And why I talk about that is look at kind of what it's come to. We forgot how powerful human communication is. How powerful is it that if it's not used at all towards someone, like by a lot of people, or if it's used negatively by someone or a lot of people, it has the power to cause a young person to look into the mirror and say, I'm not really necessary in this place anymore. We have this weird thing called a suicide rate. Isn't that crazy? It's like you would think that a person could live 60, 70 years before they arrive at that place where they say, all right, I've given this life thing a big shot, plenty of decades, and I realized that it was for nothing. Like, I'm checking out. But we have 14, 15-year-olds. People are like 1/5 through the way of this thing we call life, that 1/5 of the way.